Hi, welcome back to another episode of CV2 for Dummies, where your host is a big giant dummy. And I'm going to try and teach you about strings today. Strings is one of my favorite things in CV2, and maybe it's because I talk too much and like to communicate too much. Anyways, I don't shut up, so maybe that's why I like strings so much. If you remember, strings are readable text. It means that the circuit knows you are going to read it. It's a visual in parentheses. Let me pull out my maker pen and wire so I can hover over these. These are the ones that you will find in the palette underneath strings. I do not have beta on, so there might be some beta ones too. And remember, you look at it on the left side, and the result comes out on the right side. And almost all of these have purple, but this two string is a conversion, so accepts any data input on that side and will turn it into a readable text. But yeah, all these purple is where we're going to go put our strings in. Now let's go look at them individually. Okay, here you will see two of the ones we've already previously talked about. The two string, which turns any or almost any. I'm not sure if it works with the exec. I'll have to try it sometime. But says any data input, and it'll turn anything into a string. So whatever you input here, it's going to become readable text where the circuit knows that it's going to be something you read. And down here, if you remember from the variable episode, this is a string variable. You apply power right here and whatever you want to write here, or you can leave it empty. And it saves the information inside, and then you can read it on the right. Or you can also read it or write it on another variable with the same exact name, and it'll share the data between the ones with the same name. We have parse float, parse int, and parse bool here. What parse means is that it's basically going to convert something or analyze something into another result. In this case, it's going to take strings, turn wire on, strings, and turn them into a float, an int, or a bool. So on this side, because this is a float, we are going to take and have to use a number. It's got to be a number. It can be a decimal number. I'm going to use a decimal number. And what it's going to do is try and turn the string into a float. So we could take a string written result, say like if we asked a question of a player in a room and they typed it in and they typed in a float number for us, we are able to turn that string into a float number. So let me click on wire again, and it takes my 99 string and turns it into the float. So I could do math with this now. I couldn't do math with the string, but if I turn it into a float with this parse float, I can do math with it now. And this parse success, that's saying, was this able to be turned into the float and actually something I can use as a float? And it's saying yes. If I take my string and enter something that isn't a float, spam some letters, and my result is 0. It wasn't able to turn this into a float. And it's going to tell me that it was not successful by telling me false. So it had to have been a number that could have been a whole number or a decimal number to turn it into a float. And right here, it's the same with int, although I just can't use decimals with the ints. If I take numbers, 87, and take it as a string and then turn it into a int, it was able to be turned into an int because it gives me 87 here, and it tells me true. Now, if I take it and try and turn it into a float, 67.9, it gives me 0 again and false, 0 false, because it's a float number, so it wasn't able to turn it into an integer because I can't have decimals here. And with this Boolean, the Boolean, I'm not able to take numbers and turn to a Boolean. If you remember, Booleans can only be true or false. Gotta get rid of those numbers first. True or false. That's how a Boolean is. My result is true, and it was able to successfully do it. What happens if I don't have the right capitalization? If I go lowercase, will it work? Let's find out. It did work. So I did not have to have the proper capitalization for it, but I did have to have true, and I can't just enter other things and have it work. So that's all it is. It's basically converting strings into either float, int, or a Boolean. Okay, right here I have string to lower, string to upper, and string length. With the top two, string to lower and string to upper, they changed capitalization to either all lowercase or all uppercase, depending on which circuit you are using. So for the first one, it's going to turn everything I type into lowercase. I'm typing fudge. It turned it all to lowercase. Chocolate. Okay, so this one is going to turn everything to uppercase. See, I have a lot of lowercase in here and some uppercase, and it all became uppercase. So everything in here, even though some was uppercase, some was lowercase, became lowercase. Everything in here on the string to upper became uppercase. No matter what it was when I input it, it changed it all to uppercase or it changed it all to lowercase, depending on which circuit I would use. Now, string length, what it does is it counts the length of my string. So I'm going to type dummy, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 letters, characters in dummy. And it is going to tell me that's 5. If I put another word in here like 5, which is 4 characters for that word, it's going to tell me 4 characters. So what you type here, let's try, I don't know, W space H space Y. So that's 3 letters, but then I have 2 spaces in there, which also take a character space. Pull up wire again. So that gives me 5. Even though there's empty spaces in 2 of those character spacings in that string, they counted. So it was W space H space Y, which was 5 characters, and it tells me 5, even though I can't visually see 2 of them. So if I add on, oopsie, where's my back button? There we go. So if I add on some other things here, space, some weird characters, and %. So I added, I think it was 3 spaces and then 3 more characters. So now it's 11. Even though I can't visually see those spaces in there, they still counted. Okay, I have string contains up now, and string contains is going to output a Boolean for me. And if you'll notice, it's telling me true right now whenever my string and sequence are there. My sequence, what it does is it looks for something within the string and it'll tell me true or false if it contains that sequence. Currently, there's nothing in the sequence, so my my spaces, they are currently showing up inside as true, my space. So if I change this and put CV2, it's going to tell me that's my sequence is inside the string. If I change this to lowercase c, if I can get my marker on it. Okay, I want lowercase. So see, that looks different because it's lowercase c. Will it still be in there? No, it's looking for exactly the same thing. It's got to be even capitalized correctly or lowercase correctly. If I look for dumb, it's going to tell me true. But if I look for, come here, keyboard. Can you see that now? If I look for dumb, it's going to tell me false because there's no dumb. It's dummies. There's no B in there. So it has to be exact. But it'll give you a true or false result that you can use in your circuits to know if something was said within a string. We have string index of and string substring circuits here. What the top one, string index of, does, it takes your string and it looks for a substring in it and it tells you the location of it. So right now, if I pull up my maker pen and use wire, we are looking for A on that string above, and it's going to tell me the location for A is 0. It is in the starting location of that string, which is going to be 0, which can be confusing because I know you would want to be like, that's the first one, so that's 1. But the way lists work is a lot of times things start in the 0 location. So 0 is really the 1 spot. And then it would go 0, 1, 2, 3 when there's 4 items in a list. Since this says 0 location, the starting location is A, A0. So if we want to find the location for B, I would pull up my maker pen and enter B in there. And it's going to tell me its index location is 1. So remember, when you're searching for something inside a string, it's going to start off in the 0 location. But the good thing about the string index of, it's not just looking for an individual character. It can find multiple B, C. Oh, well, that didn't work out right. Type out B, C. So when I say multiple, I mean like a group together. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G can find B, C specifically in there. And it'll tell me the BC's location as the starting point of B. Starting point of B is right here. That's the beginning of the string. It's going to tell me where the beginning of the string is in here. The beginning of the substring starts with B. So it's going to tell me B's location. It's not going to tell me C's location, just the starting point. And it's going to tell me 1. If I change this to D and E, it's going to tell me where D and E is located. And if we start off at 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. So D is in the 3 location. E is in the 4th, but it's not going to tell me where E is. It's just going to tell me where D is, where it starts. So it's going to tell me 3rd location, 0, 1, 2, 3. Now what happens if I don't have the correct information here? Just spam the keyboard. Okay, as you can see, the substring is not contained in this string, even though part of it is, DE is, but then there's no DD following it, it's FG. So the index is going to tell me -1 as the error to let me know that's not in here. Okay, for string, substring, A, B, C, D, E, F is what I have. And what you can do with this one is you can take part of your string out and make a substring. So I could take whatever I put here out of this one by creating the index of, where it's located and how long the words are, the characters are that I want to pull. So if I wanted to pull A, B, C out, I would start at the 0 index. The starting location would be 0 for the ABC. And then if I want ABC, that's 3 character lengths. So 1, 2, 3. So I'd want to start at the index of 0 and 3 links long. And then I would get ABC because I'm starting at the 0 location and I'm pulling 3 links. If I went CDE, that's 3 links long too, but I'd be starting at the location of 2 to pull out starting at C. So 0, 1, 2 is the starting location of C, and then I'm pulling 3. So it would be 1, 2, 3 for CDE. That's 3 links long. So that gives me CDE. So just remember, you're starting at the 0 location for the starting position, and then you can pull out what index first, how far it is into the word, and then how long you want it, how many characters you want it. And if I pull out too far up, 10 and 3, it's just going to give me nothing because there's nothing that far out. Okay, these have to do with lists. We know a little bit about lists just a second ago, so because we were messing with index. But as you'll see, we have stuff coming in on the left side on the inputs, but the outputs are outputting a list. It's a string list. It's just a list of readable words. If we start with string split up here, I have A period B period C. That's my string, and my divider is B here. So what I'm going to do is divide my top part here at the B location. And what's going to do, it's going to remove my B and put a new line in between them. So it's going to take the B and remove the B and separate it into lines there. And it's going to give me 2 separate things. On the very first line, it's going to give me an A period. On the second line of my list, it's going to give me a period C. So it took the B out, removed the B, and that separated it to become a new line. That's a little confusing. I'm going to separate it at a period. See if that makes a little bit more sense. So I'm going to divide it now at the period. That's my divider. And it's going to separate my list into 3 different things. It's going to go A, new line, B, new line, C. So my list is going to contain A, B, C, and it's going to be on separate lines because of that period there. So my list over here, because it divided it into 3 separate lines, my first line was A, and then there was a period there, so that's where it separated to a new line, and then B, and then a period, and it became a new line, and then C. So it removes whatever the divider is, but it's just basically saying to separate it into a new line. It's a new thing, new object. Okay, string split at index. This one is a little tricky. If I start it at 0 for you guys, where do you think it would start? It's separating it into 2 things if I do it at index 0, but you would think number 1 would be the first one, and that would be your first value, but that's not correct on this one. If I move myself a little bit, you'll see that 1 was the second value. It's the index of the second line on there. So for this one, it's a little different. If I wanted to separate my 1 from the others, I have to choose 1. There's really no 0. 0 would be before the list started for this one. It's a little tricky. So if I separated it this time 2 lists, the index 0, which would be the first location, is now I have 1, and I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the string split at index, you'll want to start this one at 1 instead of the usual 0 like you would. If I separate it at the 4th location, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is actually the 4, it's going to give me 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If I split it at the 8th location, it's going to give me 1, 2, 3, 2 still, 2 separate things on my list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9. So I'm sorry, this makes it so much harder to learn. For some reason, the 0 for string split at index is before it actually starts. So if I split this by 0, it's still going to split 2 different things. It's just splitting it before the first character. So it's still splitting it into 2 different things on my list. It's just the first item on my list is blank. And then the second item on my list is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I know, it's so difficult. Why is this one got to be different than the others? Yeah, we'll throw it away. It doesn't work right compared to the others. Okay, we have get new line and string format. First thing I want to show you about the string format, if I pull up configure on my maker pen, that I can configure string format to add and remove inputs. So we'll add a couple inputs. So right now, if you look at it, it has the top row saying format, and then underneath that 4 rows that say value. And the format is basically how you tell it to read the results here. So we're going to put, I don't know, I love the alphabet. Maybe I can put, oh, that's not what I want to do. I want to wire these strings A, B, C, D. Okay, first thing you should know about string formats is it's going to read these values below. This is the 0 value, 1 value, 2 value, 3 value. So it starts with 0, reading them. And then if I want to tell it how, the way you do format is curly brackets. Sometimes they're referred to as bracers, but I always call them brackets. I'll do 1 first of all, so that you can see what I mean without me adding too much. Those are the little icons right there. They're brackets with like a curl to them. And then I have the number in it. And remember I said that the A value there, that one is the first one because we start at 0. So if I have format with curly brackets telling me 0, that is going to have it output the A here. So I can put other things in here besides curly brackets. Maybe. First, where'd my curly bracket go? Row 0. Oh, that's my curly bracket though. Where'd that go on me? First row 0. So I'm saying first row 0, curly brackets 0. So I'm saying first row 0, and then the value A here. So first row 0, and then it's going to say A. First row 0, A. So it'll put the text you want here, but then if you do a curly brackets and then the assigned number for that location, it's going to put whatever value is here. So I'm going to remove that 0. So row 0 equals this value right here. So row 0 equals A. Now if we change this, I'm having all kinds of difficulties right now with my maker pen. Row 1 equals the value of 1. So row 1 equals the value of 1. So row 1 equals B. And you don't have to, I'm going to remove that text out there. You don't have to just put 1. I could go curly bracket 0, curly bracket 2, curly bracket 1, curly bracket 0 again, and curly bracket 3. So it's all out of order the way I'm going to put it in there. So it's going to read A, and then C, and then B, and then A, and then C. Or I'm sorry, and then D. A, C, B, A, D. So all that is it's putting the value. It's saying, put that value in this location. And now I should show you what this new line is up here. This new line is something that's been recently added. Previously, to get a new line, you had to like copy something from a Google Doc or something where a line would be, and then paste it into here, Control V, Control C. But you know, a lot of systems aren't on desktop or VR to where they could do that. So they added this new line circuit to where we could get a new line. So if we add it here, which is in the 1 location, it's going to go 0, 2, new line, 0, 1. So see that? ACAD is separated into a new line there. It's not a list. It's just in a separate line. So if you're reading it, it's knowing to give it 2 lines. Here's one. New line CB, new line D. So all this does is it tells you how you can put multiple informations in one thing. Controls. Control is right here. You can put words in here or just the curly brackets and the numbers from your values below. And then output on the side. Thanks for watching the tutorial on strings for CV2. I know it can be confusing, especially when it comes to the indexes and lists, because we haven't learned about that yet. But once you understand lists, those might come a little easier to you. It's just a little confusing because sometimes things do start with 1 instead of the 0. And we did have one circuit that started with 1 instead of the zeros. But be sure you go inside Rec Room and pull out some strings and practice with them and try to retain that information that we've learned today. Bye.